every single day, and every word you say, every game you play, every night you stay, I'll be watching you.
It's could see. You take myself, you take myself. I must believe in something, so I make myself believe it, that this night will never go.
Sudanese Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok resigns against a backdrop of deadly pro-democracy protests, spurred by Hamdok's decision to strike a deal with the army after an October coup. France becomes the latest country to reduce COVID quarantines for confirmed cases and their close contacts, providing, that is, they're fully vaccinated. That amid new stricter measures for mask wearing and also testing in schools. Meanwhile, secondary school students in England will be wearing face masks when they return to class this week, amid warnings that national end-of-year exams could be at risk unless further measures are introduced. We'll be crossing to our correspondent in London, Bénédicte Pavieux. Hello and welcome to the France 24 newsroom. It's good to have you with us. Abdallah Hamdok has stepped down as the Prime Minister of Sudan amid popular outrage at his decision to strike a deal with the military rulers that overthrew him in October. Hamdok was reinstated in November, but he never succeeded in naming a cabinet. On Sunday, 3 more people were killed during the course of mass demonstrations in Khartoum calling for his departure, bringing the total death toll since the start of anti-coup protests to 57. Leo McGuinn has more.
After months of violence on the streets and uncertainty over his position, Sudan's Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok announced his resignation on Sunday.
أنني قد قررت أن أرد إليكم أمانتكم وأعلن لكم استقالتي من منصب رئيس الوزراء مفسحا المجال لآخر من بنات أو أبناء هذا الوطن المعطاء لاستكمال قيادة وطننا العزيز.
Hamdok was sworn in 2019, becoming Sudan's first civilian prime minister. But in October, an army coup saw Hamdok detained by the army, later to be reinstated. His release and pact with the army did not convince protesters that there will be a transition to full democracy. Since then, protests against the army takeover have shown no signs of abating. An army crackdown on demonstrations has resulted in dozens of people killed and hundreds injured. Protest organisers say 2022 will be the year of continued resistance.
We completely condemn powers such as arrest, search and arbitrary arrest. This is the last card used by the ruling council because they fear our freedom. Arrests will never break our resistance committees. They will arrest us, but we will not give up until we achieve civilian rule.
Coup leader General Abdel Fattah el-Burhan said on Saturday that Sudan faced existential threats that could not be ignored.
Individuals with authority, along with the current conflict which has resulted in loss of life, damage to property and disruption, mean we have to arbitrate the voice of reason and agree to dialogue.
Protesters say that the military must play no role in government on the road to free elections.
From this Monday here in France, anyone who's fully vaccinated against COVID-19 who tests positive for the virus will have to self-isolate for 7 days rather than the current 10, while their close contacts won't be required to go into quarantine at all, again providing that they're fully vaccinated. That relaxing of some rules coming as restrictions are tightened in a number of other contexts, including in schools.
COVID restrictions tightened once again. On Monday, new rules come into force in French schools. Children who are contact cases can return to class with a negative PCR or rapid antigen test, but they must repeat the tests on day 2 and day 4. Parents will be able to use home test kits to meet the requirements.
C'est la situation qui veut ça et on est obligé de faire avec.
Bon, moi, je suis pas très pour que les enfants soient vaccinés, donc tant qu'on peut les faire tester et procéder de cette manière-là, ça me va bien.
Masks will also become mandatory for children over 6 years of age. Stricter rules also in the public transport sector. Face coverings can no longer be removed and eating and drinking has been banned. The rules have left some baffled.
Moi, je fais un voyage qui dure 9 heures. Je me vois pas trop ne rien manger pendant 9 heures. Je suis contente d'être partie aujourd'hui et pas demain.
In the entertainment industry, new regulations have limited the amount of indoor spectators to 2,000.
Nous avons pu ajouter des séances, prévenir le public par nos réseaux sociaux, et les gens se réinscrivaient sur les nouvelles séances. Finalement, ça s'est passé sans heurts.
Public attendance at outdoor events, like football matches, will be capped at 5,000 spectators.
School children are also a key focus of the fight against the Omicron surge in England. From this week, all secondary school students will be required to wear face masks in class, with each student tested for COVID at least once before returning after the Christmas holidays. The government, meanwhile, asking public sector managers to prepare for a worst-case scenario of a staff absence rate of up to 25% in the weeks to come, as the country continues to battle record numbers of infection. Well, let's cross now to London to speak with our correspondent there, Bénédicte Pavieux. Benedict, just how bad is the COVID situation in England right now?
It's a serious one. It was expected to be so. And of course, a lot of partying and getting together and family reunions, friend reunions, and we'll have to wait to see what the outcome of that is. But daily COVID cases for England have been above 100,000 for 12 days now. So on Sunday, we had partial results, and that was for England and Wales, and they recorded over 137,583 daily cases and 73 deaths within 28 days of a positive test. We await, it's a bank holiday here in the UK, we await data for Scotland and Northern Ireland. So a review of restrictions in England is expected in the next few days, and that is because England's current restrictions are due to expire on the 26th of January. We will recall that we're under Plan B, so that means work from home when possible, and that is strongly advised. Wear masks indoors, for example, in shops, and basically be cautious. Currently, UK ministers are confident, they say, that new curbs are not needed here in England. But interestingly, we've got much tougher regulations in other nations of the UK, Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales. And indeed, the Times today is saying that large gatherings could be banned in Scotland well into the spring. So that would be a further growing divergence between the rules in force here that are comparatively lower in England than in the other three nations.
Now, Benedict, businesses and also public sector workers have been told to brace for mass infections and, of course, the mass self-isolation that will go with that. That's surely ringing alarm bells for the UK economy once again.
Yes, when you've got inflation that is above 5% already, you've got work-related absences that are growing, and as indeed these UK record numbers of daily cases increase and are set the fallout of the festive period, if you will, also people waiting for such a long time, like around the world, for these family reunions and reunions with friends. So what ministers have been tasked now with developing are, quote, robust contingency plans for COVID-related workplace absences. And we already see public sector leaders being asked for a plan for a worst-case scenario, planning on 10%, 15% or up to 25% of work-related absences due to COVID. We're already seeing mounting pressure on the National Health Service across the whole of the UK. And we know that it's not just the health service, important as that is and crucial indeed as it is in a pandemic, but also the transport sector, the hospitality sector. And this, of course, is a really big problem. So contingency planning, very important at a time when we've got over 145,000 dead already from COVID in this country. But Health Secretary Sajid Javid will give you the mood of where the government and Prime Minister Boris Johnson is. Any new COVID restrictions in England will be a last resort. We must learn to live with COVID. That is the message from Prime Minister Boris Johnson. And you'll remember that he had 100 rebellious MPs back in December trying to push through the current restrictions. Many of them feel that this is an infringement on people's liberties. So surging cases, mass self-isolation, a rise expected in cases, contingency planning. Those are everything that we're looking at, that the government is looking at. And the coming days will obviously be very revealing.
Benedict Pavio in London, thank you very much. We're actually going to be staying with that question of workplace absences with our business segment. For that, I'm joined in the studio by Sharon Gaffney. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Haxie.
You've been looking at how Omicron is hitting companies around the world, hospitality sectors, private, public. Tell us a little bit more.
Yes, and the challenges posed by the spread of Omicron, they've prompted some economists to actually cut their growth forecasts for early 2022, anticipating continuing worker shortages and reduced consumer spending. So far, the variant hasn't driven jobless rates noticeably higher, but it's already taking a toll on businesses, as you've been hearing, with a growing number of staff homesick or quarantined. The travel sector has been particularly hard hit. Thousands of flights were cancelled over Christmas, with the blame being placed firmly on increasing COVID cases among crews. Some American airlines are now offering to pay their pilots and flight attendants double or even triple their usual salaries to take on extra flying duties through most of January. They're hoping the seasonal decline may be sharper than normal this year because most business travellers, of course, do remain grounded. Now, almost 4,500 flights were cancelled around the world on Sunday. Over half were services into, within or out of the US. Globally, more than 17,500 flights were delayed. Well, already today, there have been over 2,500 flights cancelled, and many governments are now moving to try to reduce absence rates by changing quarantine rules for those who test positive for COVID and for their close contacts. Here in France, the isolation period for those who are vaccinated and have the virus has been reduced from 2 weeks to 1. In Spain, it's been cut from 10 days to 7, and in the US, it's now down to 5 days. Well, as you heard there from Benedict, record numbers of infections in the UK over Christmas have led to large numbers of people there self-isolating. The British government is asking ministers to develop robust contingency plans for workplace absences. It says rising case numbers could lead to a worst-case scenario of up to a quarter of all staff not being able to work. And the National Health Service and schools are already feeling the impact. NHS hospital staff absences due to COVID have nearly doubled over the past month. And on New Year's Eve alone, nearly 1 in 10 staff, that's more than 110,000 people, were absent. Schools are now being asked to merge classes into larger groups and to consider flexible teaching options. And this comes, of course, as the UK is already suffering labour shortages across the economic spectrum as a result of Brexit.
And in other business news today, crisis-hit property developer Evergrande is back in the spotlight.
Yes, the Chinese real estate giant once again suspending trade in its shares in Hong Kong as investors await updates on the firm's restructuring plans. The company has more than $300 billion of debts and has been struggling to repay bondholders. It's been trying to raise cash by selling assets and shares to repay suppliers and creditors. Time now for a very quick check on the markets. Well, with some major markets in the region closed on Monday, including Tokyo and Shanghai, shares in Asia were mixed as 2022 trading kicked off. In Europe, most of the markets have now opened. London, however, is closed, but the CAC 40 and Frankfurt are both up so far. Finally, for me, champagne may be losing its sparkle. For the first time in a decade, the EU has recorded a drop in exports of sparkling wine, and that's largely due to a massive fall-off in global demand for champagne. Sales of the bubbly drink are down by 20%. So bad news for French producers, but the picture is a little rosier for regions exporting Prosecco and Cava. Sales of those drinks have actually increased by up to 10%.
Not bad at all. Sharon Gaffney with a look through the day's top business stories. Thank you very much indeed. And finally from me, Richard Leakey, a Kenyan conservationist who made a name for himself as a fearless voice denouncing the African ivory trade, has died at the age of 77. Leakey was a prominent figure in the government too, serving variously as the director of the state-run National Museums of Kenya and also as board chairman of the Kenya Wildlife Service. President Uhuru Kenyatta paying homage to a man who, he said, served our country with distinction. Here's a listen to what Richard Leakey had to say shortly before his death about the importance of conservation work.
We can burn ivory and do all these things, but unless we can persuade the public why we're doing it, we'll be wasting our time. Ivory must be seen as only valuable if it's on an animal. It should not be ever seen as a valuable commodity for trade.
That's all we have time for right now. Thank you very much for watching. Do stay tuned though. More news coming up in 15 minutes' time here on France 24.
Bitte. So. Oh mein Gott. Ah.
Rated everyone.
Hello everyone and welcome to the PlayStation Competition Centre with myself, Brandon Smith.
And Richard Buckley.
And today we're going to be looking at FIFA 22, but more importantly, taking some tips from this man in terms of skills to use in the game, how to get better at corners, penalties and even free kicks. And I can say from personal experience, this man is better than me at FIFA. He's beaten me many times. So Rich, take it away with skill moves first on FIFA 22. What are you using and what's effective this year?
So there's a few skill moves that are in my plethora, shall I say. They're in the old trusty skill book, and it's a couple of the new skill moves actually that have been introduced into FIFA 22. Firstly, we've got the advanced sort of skilled bridge, I want to say. Super simple to do. All you need to do, hold L2, double tap R1. Literally, that is it. Imagine the bridge and the directional nutmeg from last year, but it's a bit more flary this year. You still get that initial acceleration boost, that sort of touch away from the defender, but it's under a little bit more control, and it's actually a really nice skill move to use in FIFA 22. I think if you pulled it into your game, you'd probably get an extra win here or there.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Any other skill moves this year you want to talk about that are maybe less difficult to do?
One in particular that is a 4-star skill move this year, brand new into FIFA 22, sort of known as the 4-touch turn, the 4-touch roulette in the game. You hold L2, and if you're dribbling towards the goal and the goal's on the left-hand side, you flick the right stick backwards. So wherever you're going, you flick it the opposite direction. Your player will sort of move the ball around in a circle, exits away from the defender as well, and can sort of set up different passing lanes or maybe a shooting opportunity in and around the box.
There's just a couple of skill moves that you can maybe implement into your game at home. In terms of set pieces now on the pitch, free kicks, I've always been a fan of a knuckleball. What are you rocking this year on FIFA?
I think this year, free kicks are actually much easier to score across the board. If your player opposition isn't going to put a man on the line, or maybe he's not going to move the goalkeeper with the right stick, any good free kick taker, we're talking Neymar, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Kevin De Bruyne, Lionel Messi, really all I've had to do is aim the cursor in the top corner and just press circle and just power it up. And the way that the goalkeeper sort of moves, he doesn't dive at full extension and get there. So at the moment, the best way to score is literally just aim it in the top corner, put a little bit of power on it and power it up. If they have moved the goalkeeper, top tip from myself, play it short. Set up a different opportunity, look for maybe a finesse shot with a player who's running onto the ball, and I'm sure you're going to have a lot of success in the free kick department.
So in simple terms, just get someone on the ball that's decent at free kicks and aim it towards the goal with some decent pace this year. Moving on to penalties. You know, if you're lucky enough to get a penalty, there was head movement before you could look into. Is it a case for you, just pick a corner and back yourself?
And penalties are a mind game. They really are. Some will say it's a 50-50. I really don't think it is. It's not a lottery. There is skill to it. Top corners are your friend. If you aim, every single penalty I get, I always aim top left corner, no matter what. Top left corner, right in the postage stamp. And 9 times out of 10, if the goalkeeper doesn't stand and then dive to that side, if you put it in the top corner and you can time your penalty as well, if you time it green, he's not going to get anywhere near it. So aim for the top corner. It's a little bit more risky. Your controllable vibrate. It'll feel like you're taking a real-life penalty, but if you keep your cool, you will score.
And I've been on the other end of that before as well, and it is a very efficient way to score a penalty. Last but not least, corners this year. There's a couple of ways you can take a corner. For me, it's just lump it into the box and hope for the best. What about for yourself?
I've found a couple of different techniques at the moment. The short corner is very effective this year. Little short pass, driven pass to the edge of the box, and then you're looking for a finesse opportunity if you've got a player who's sort of loitering on the edge of the box. However, the other corner that I really like, you get your best header of the ball, whether that's Virgil van Dijk or Varane, and you put them all the way at the back post. What this will do, the player at the back post for your opponent, unless they manually move a centre-back, will always be a full-back. So you're going to have a strength and physical advantage at the back post. You can either head it with your centre-back who you've pulled to the back post using manual positioning, or you can try and head it back into the box. I've scored many of corner this year on FIFA, sticking it to the back post and then heading it back across into the danger area and just getting a tap in.
Amazing stuff. Those are so many tips and tricks for you guys to implement into your games on FIFA 22 this year. And don't forget that you can also test your skills at home on FIFA this year with the PlayStation Competition Centre, where you could win FIFA points, cash, or even some in-game avatars. You can sign up at home from your own console via the PS4 Events tab or online at the PlayStation Competition Centre. But that's a wrap from myself and Richard. We'll catch you very soon again here on the PlayStation Competition Centre.
PlayStation.
Right.
There's the horn, and the Rolex TP52 World Championship gets underway here in Palma, Mallorca.
This is the event we've been waiting for quite a while. We've been starved of great yacht racing. Now we've got a World Championship with 10 top teams, 10 really passionate owners, and some of the best sailors in the world racing these incredible boats. The TP52 World Championship really has it all in terms of a regatta. 10 really short, sharp, intense races and no handicap, so first past the post means you've won the race. Put all that together and you've got an amazing regatta.
So the fleet all away cleanly and sailing hard to the top mark.
Who to look out for? Well, Harm Muller Spreer's platoon are the reigning champions, and they would certainly love to do the double.
Yeah, the Rolex TP52 World Championship, that's the biggest event of the year, that's for sure. If you're winning a title, that could happen, I would say, but if defending a title or if you're winning it twice, 3 times or 4 times, that's even better.
You can expect Doug DeVos and the Quantum Racing crew to be battling really hard. They've got their tactician Terry Hutchinson back from America's Cup duty, and you've got to bet this team is going to be firing on all cylinders to try and make it win number 4.
The Rolex TP52 World Championship is a very special event, and we all want to win, me included, quite badly.
And then there's Brunch. They've put together a good run of form recently. They've proved they're capable of winning races, and they could easily be a contender for a podium position this week. In fact, any of the 10 teams competing here this week have a chance of winning this event. Sled, Allegre, Phoenix are all capable of putting together a series-winning performance.
In race 1, Phoenix finish ahead of Brunch Gazprom, and in race 2, the South African flag team do it again. Another first, this time with Sled taking second place. So at the end of the first day, Sled and Quantum Racing are tied on 9 points. Platoon second, and a great day for Phoenix. Just 2 points in this format where the lowest overall score wins.
Yeah, perfect day for us, but day 1 out of 5, and we've got more breeze coming. I haven't sailed in a lot of breeze in these boats in quite a while, so it'll be interesting heading into the breezy days how we go downwind in the heavy stuff. But we're at a perfect start, long way to go.
Mallorca is the largest of Spain's 4 Balearic Islands, and Palma, the capital city. It has long been a favourite of visiting yacht owners and crews, and it's not difficult to understand why. In the last 15 years, Palma has grown into an international hub for the yachting industry. The huge harbour can accommodate the largest of yachts, both motor and sail.
Palma is incredible. It is an absolute mecca for super yachts, and people ask why, and it's because you have absolutely everything that you really need here. You've got the industry, you've got the lifestyle, you've got the weather. It's also the expertise you get here. The yards here know how to look after boats.
At the end of the harbour is STP, one of the biggest refitting shipyards in the world. This is where owners bring their super yachts to be serviced, repaired and remodelled. And it's booming.
Right now we're in the high season, and as you can see, we don't have any room for an extra vessel. So we're happy to have all those super yachts in STP all together.
And at the heart of this yachting haven is the RCNP, Real Club Nautico de Palma, Palma's premier yacht club. The club was founded in 1948 and today has a 2,000-strong membership and a reputation for organising first-class yacht races and regattas, from the Palma Vela to the Copa del Rey.
Somos y estamos en el corazón de Palma y disponemos de una bahía que es de lo mejorcito del Mediterráneo. Todo eso unido a la pasión que tenemos por el mar y por las actividades náuticas y los grandes medios humanos de que dispone el club permiten realizar regatas como la Palma Vela hace 2 días y poder realizar hoy un campeonato del mundo Rolex TP52 de esta clase. Eso yo creo que es lo que nos hace ser un referente y diferentes a cualquier club de Europa.
Day 2 of the regatta, and it promises to be very different from day 1. This is the first time that the Rolex TP52 World Championship has been held in November, and the autumn weather is posing an additional challenge for the team's strategists and tacticians.
Oh, looking very different to yesterday. You know, yesterday was a pretty light onshore day. Today we've got offshore, pretty breezy. Could get some thunderstorms rolling through around midday. The range of the forecast is like 8 to 28 knots. Offshore, super shifty. So yeah, very different day. Head out of the boat stuff today, big time.
Just before we start race 3, let's remind ourselves of how windward-leeward racing works.
So to look at the racetrack, we have a committee boat and a pin in, and that's the start line. So we go upwind for 1.5 miles, and we have what we call the windward mark. So we round the windward mark and go off on a little offset leg. That's to separate the boats so that they don't go round the windward mark and crash into each other. Then we race back downwind to the gates and then back up to the windward mark, offset and down to the finish, which is between the committee boat and the pin end.
So here we go, race 3. The breeze is in, and this is going to be a tactician's day. Quantum have opted for a conservative approach, but Brunch are putting it all on the line.
It's a matter to go in the water, sail well, sail fast the boat, try to be consistent. Then
you need to take also some risk. You will not win a World Championship if you don't take the right amount of risk and try to win races.
I don't think it's about winning a lot of races, but I think it's about when you find yourself in the lead, you win those races. And when you are in 6th or 7th or 8th at a first top mark, you turn that into a 4th. That's what our focus is on.
At the second windward mark, Brunellesec have lost their lead to Allegre. Now they'll be pulling out all the stops to get back in front. Quantum are playing it safe, but as they finish 3rd, Brunellesec are penalized for this charge for the line and drop to 9th.
And in race 4, Brunellesec Gazprom claw back some of their squandered points. They cross the finish line in 2nd behind Sled. A 5th and a 1st moves the American flag boat up to 2nd place, tied on points with the regatta leader Phoenix, with Quantum Racing in 3rd.
It was really tough. You know, we went from the sort of mid-fleet to the front of the fleet in that last race, and that helped us with the points overall, but it's a long way to go in this regatta. 4 or 5 boats, it's super close in points.
The 52 Super Series has long advocated a strict code of sustainable conduct by eliminating single-use plastics at its regattas. Every event stopover on the tour is an opportunity to spread the word, but here in Mallorca, they're preaching to the converted. The island has adopted one of the most ambitious green agendas of anywhere in Europe. On the outskirts of Palma, the Save the Med Foundation is running a campaign called Plastic Free Balearics, encouraging businesses in the hospitality sector to stop using single-use plastics.
Here at Save the Med Foundation, we work towards the regeneration of the Mediterranean Sea. We work with applied science, education, outreach and policy change. Throughout the work that we do in the field, it's becoming quite obvious that we need to turn the tap off on plastic pollution because we're seeing it in all elements of our work.
With more than 10 million visitors a year to the island, the program is part of a new strategy to help reduce the environmental impact.
So today we're going to go and have a chat with Path, who runs agroturismo. It's called Ses Arenas. It's in a really, really beautiful part of Mallorca. We're going to go and see how her and her team are going with the Plastic Free Balearics program. So we're seeing a very clear shift here in Mallorca on how the island is being promoted. So people coming, staying in an old country farmhouse, but then there's also all the activities that you can do here that are also under the umbrella of ecotourism.
This shift can be seen in the island's tourism films, encouraging visitors to enjoy Mallorca's natural beauty and in so doing adopt a more caring and sustainable approach to the environment.
The sustainability is something you have to believe in today, and you have to start changing things today, because otherwise there will be no tomorrow. Plastic Free Balearics has been a pioneer initiative. We have to force the industry to look for a different alternative, for a cleaner alternative. And you know what? At the beginning, it was like, wow, this is not possible. But then, little by little, people start changing habits. And then you realize that it wasn't that difficult. We still have a long way to go, but you can see an amazing transformation already.
Ses Arenas is a vision of what sustainable tourism can be. A repurposed farmhouse inviting guests to come to enjoy the natural environment and unspoiled beaches. And all within an environmentally caring framework that will ensure the island's future.
Being a part of Plastic Free Balearics is important for us, because if we do nothing, the beauty of Mallorca will not be here for the people who want to come and enjoy it. So we have to do something.
We have to change. There is no other option. We need to turn the tap off. We need to stop the flow of single-use plastics.
Day 3 of the Rolex TP52 World Championship, and the pressure is building as the regatta reaches the halfway point. Phoenix and Sled are both on 15 points, with Quantum Racing just 1 point behind in third. The regatta is precariously balanced.
So here we go, race 5, and Phoenix fast off the line as we head upwind toward the first mark. Onboard tactician Tom Slingsby will be pleased with that start.
A good start is just so important in this fleet. There's a lot of unbelievable tacticians here and great match racers, and you really got to keep your mind that this is a fleet race and you got to make sure you're not caught in one-on-one battles. Being able to keep away from bad scores, stay consistent, and hopefully up the front of the fleet is going to be important for the winner.
Here we are approaching the first windward mark, and it's Alegre who get there first to steal the race lead. Platoon 2 are pulling out all the stops and move ahead of Phoenix to take second.
The key winning international event in this class against these opponents is teamwork. Only one wrong tag, or maybe a tag 10 seconds too late, or maybe 5 seconds too early, that could count. So if you're all the time in the top 3 or top 5, you have a good chance this week.
As they cross the line, it's Alegre first, followed by Platoon, Phoenix, and Brunch. A 6th for Sled relegates them to 3rd place in the regatta.
But in the second race of the day, Sled come out with all guns blazing. They sail a faultless race, opening up a big gap over 2nd place Platoon, with Phoenix in 3rd. A consistent day for Phoenix takes them back to the top of the leaderboard, ahead of Sled. And 2 impressive seconds for Platoon move them up to 3rd, just 1 point behind the leader. Overlooking the racecourse in Palma Bay is the Oceanographic Centre, another of Mallorca's frontline initiatives to protect its precious environment and marine ecosystem.
The main goal of the Oceanographic Centre of the Balearic Islands is to perform scientific research, to give advice to the different governments, both national and local, in all aspects related to the oceanography, the sea and its resources.
10 research groups study a variety of issues, from the overharvesting of fish to microplastics in the ocean, and the data collected helps steer government policy.
So now in the Balearic Islands we have a government very sensitive with all aspects related with the marine environment and is very worried about the problems facing our ecosystems.
It is important to act in the sense to increase the conservation policies and the protection policies if we want to guarantee the future of our islands. We need the science if we want to take the right decisions as for management of our natural spaces and biodiversity.
One of the government's success stories has been the creation of marine protected areas, specially designated zones where fishing is not permitted, allowing the area to regenerate. On Mallorca's west coast, a team of COB scientists are on their way to conduct a biodiversity audit at the marine reserve at El Toro.
We arrived to Marine Reserve Isla del Toro, and we are doing some sampling with my colleague to look at how healthy it is. You ready?
I'm ready.
We go.
For David and Susanna, the goal is to take measurements that can be used to assess the richness of biodiversity at the reserve.
This place, it's a very nice place. It's full of fishes because it's protected for more than 10 years, and then all the fishes return to that place. And this marine reserve is one of the most important places here in the Balearic Islands.
With measurements and data gathered, it's time to soak up the natural wonder of the reserve.
Oh, it was fantastic. It was full of fishes, large groupers, a school of fish, and then we are diving just in the Posidonia meadows, very healthy. I'm optimistic because marine protected areas are the best way to obtain a healthy ecosystem, and is the best solution to recovery of the health of our oceans.
Day 4, and there is drama down on the dock as an impending weather front threatens to shake up the regatta.
This is the penultimate day of racing, but there are storms forecast for tomorrow, and that potentially could mean there's no racing going to be possible. So things couldn't be more tightly poised, and today could be the decider for this World Championship.
Teams are hurriedly making plans as the changing weather promises windier conditions with brutal storms to follow.
You know, it's quite a change in mode, isn't it? It's from that, 10, 12, 14 knots to 18 to 22. I think the risk versus reward is something these guys will need to think about in the back of the boat.
Yeah, tomorrow's potentially into the 30s all day. We're certainly not planning on tomorrow not racing, but we're going to treat today like it's the last day for now.
Sitting at the top of the leaderboard are Phoenix, but poised to pounce just 1 point behind are both Sled and Platoon, with Quantum in 4th. It couldn't be tighter. Reigning world champions Platoon are hoping to make it a successive double.
It's only 1 point difference between the first and the third. I mean, only one race could put everything upside down. We have done it in 2017, we have done it in 2019. Why shouldn't we do it now? I mean, big confidence in the team. Staying calm is the key, I would say.
So here we go, race 7, and Quantum Racing are off to a great start. By their standards, they've had a disappointing regatta, but they're now looking to stake their title claim.
Everyone on the boat wants to get better and wants to improve because we've been doing this long enough. We want to demonstrate our ability, just like all the other teams, our ability to be competitive and our ability to win a regatta. And the competition across the fleet is so darn good. You make one little mistake and you're going to pay for it big.
No slip-up so far from Quantum Racing. But as they start the downwind leg to the finish, in hot pursuit is the regatta leader, Phoenix, now tantalizingly close to winning this championship. But as they close on Quantum, they blow their spinnaker just meters from the finish line. Disaster for Phoenix, but nothing can stop Quantum from taking the win. Phoenix struggled to the line without a spinnaker and dropped from 2nd place to 6th. It's snakes and ladders out there. And if we look at the regatta leaderboard, with potentially 1 race to go, it's Platoon who are now in the driving seat, and it is their regatta to lose. And so race 8, and possibly the final race of the regatta. Another disaster for Phoenix at the start. They're over early and will have to go back and recross the line. But Sled in the lead and chasing their first World Championship title.
For the Sled team to win the Rolex TP52 World Championship, it would mean everything. We would be over the moon. It would be a massive achievement for us, and that's what we're aiming to do.
So just to remind ourselves, Sled are 4 points behind the new regatta leader, Platoon, and will need to finish 5 places ahead if they are to take the top spot. But where are Platoon? Sled crossed the finish line in 1st, with Quantum Racing in 2nd. And Platoon are back in 6th place. Incredible! Having been so consistent, they appear to have fallen at the final hurdle. Will there be racing tomorrow? We're not sure, but as we look at the standings now, Platoon are tied with Quantum Racing on 31 points, just 1 point behind the new regatta leader, Sled, with Phoenix in 4th, ruining their misfortune.
Unfortunately, we're coming into the finish line. We're battling for first with Quantum, and our spinnaker blew out. I think we lost 4 or 5 places, and yeah, hopefully there's racing tomorrow. Otherwise, it costs us the world title.
For Quantum Racing, 2 great results, but they seem to have found their form too late in the regatta.
You always come to a regatta to win, and any result shy of that is always going to have some level of disappointment. For every team here, everybody came here to win. I think we're hoping we go sailing, we get a chance to leave it on the water and get a chance to see what happens.
But the day belonged to Sled, with a great final race that may have won them the World Championship title.
Going into today, if we couldn't have wished for anything more than end the day leading, because, what more could we want with the forecast the way it is for tomorrow? Yeah. If we go and race, it'll be fun, and if we don't, we've done okay.
Day 5, and the scheduled stormy weather that was forecast has arrived in Palma. Gusting winds beat the RCNP building as the crews anxiously await news of whether racing will go ahead or not. For Principal Race Officer Maria Torrijos, discussions with colleagues take place to try and evaluate the situation and the possibility of racing.
The wind average is 20-22. It's a lot, but it's not too much. The problem is that the gust is almost double, and that's very, very strong for the boats. There is a class rule that says that for safety, we shouldn't race.
And with the raising of the cancellation flag, the announcement that there will be no further racing, meaning that Sled are the new Rolex TP52 World Champions.
You know, it's a roller coaster for emotions. You know, you finish one race, you get a 7th or a 6th, and you're going, oh no, you know, and then we rebound with a first for the next race. Finally, we won it by, you know, the slimmest of margins, so we're very, very happy.
The winner of the Rolex TP52 World Championship title is Sled.
Sled, then, worthy winners in what has been an enthralling regatta. Next time on The Spirit of Yachting, a true epic of offshore racing, the Rolex Middle Sea Race.
Hi, I'm Owen. Our board shorts are made from recycled plastic bottles. They are part of Rip Curl's saltwater culture range. All the items in the range are made sustainably. It's hard to avoid plastic, it's everywhere. So I tried to go plastic free for a day. I tried my best, and I think that's what's most important. Sometimes when you don't use plastic, good things can happen. I think we can all do little things each day to cut out single-use plastics. So if we all give it a go, it would make a difference.
What does a CubeSat do? That's the great thing about this innovative approach to exploration. It's up to you. A CubeSat is kind of like a cargo container on a ship. It has a standard size and shape, and you can pack in whatever you want. Similarly, with CubeSats, it's what's inside that counts. And it's up to you to decide what you want to discover. Maybe you want to have a weather satellite, measure Earth's gravity, or take pictures from space. Maybe you'll turn your attention to the moon or the solar wind, or be on the lookout for incoming asteroids. With CubeSats, you get to define your own space adventure. Keep your goal focused though. CubeSats are quite small, and you have to pack in all your science tools, wiring, and computer processors, plus add power and communication systems for them to work. But it's not too hard. Even kids in elementary schools have built CubeSats. Someday, these mini spaceships may travel all over the solar system, collecting data for Earthlings everywhere.
Damien, the omen, because you're the devils, you're the demons, and you know that. Your music, rock and roll, is a satanic music. When they say you turn around, you make the music go back, and you hear Satan speak. You make the music go back, you hear Satan speak. You make the music go back, you hear Satan speak. You make the music go back, you hear Satan speak. You make the music go back, you hear Satan speak. Devils, you're the demons, and you know that. Devils, you're the demons, and you know
thing, huh?
In a few moments, you will have an experience which will seem completely real. It will be the result of your subconscious fears transformed to your conscious awareness. Warning, this tape must not be played by government personnel. It can be extremely harmful and result in severe trauma. You have 5 seconds to terminate this tape. 5, 4, mentally deranged. Now I am cured. I ask only to be shot while my mind is still clean.
Fuck you looking at?
Make sure you feel good. Why not make yourself feel really good?
Oh no.
scene?
Cape Town, the mother city, and the last stop of our trip.
My name is Tirza Schaap and I started Plastic Ocean Awareness Projects around 5 years ago here in Cape Town.
Tirza is an amazing fashion photographer, and it's incredible that she's been able to create awareness around marine plastic pollution through her art and through the side project of taking photos of the plastic that she collects on the beach. We went out to the beach with her and we went looking for plastic, and she got so amped when she saw a little piece on the beach. Oh, look at this little piece. 99% of the people will just walk past it, but she picks it up and makes these beautiful pieces of art out of it.
The goal of the project is to create, through my photographs, a friendly reminder to work on your own awareness. I think it's really interesting to have beauty and sadness mixed in one, and that's what I'm looking for in my pictures.
From that moment you first passed me that controller, I didn't know it would become such a big part of my life. You and I explored alien worlds and defended humanity together. I'll never forget those memories with you all, sharing the wins, the losses, the laughs, and all of the emotions during those late-night marathons. I see that same spark in my child's eyes and their curiosity beginning. It's exciting to see what their imagination will craft. And I understand how the love of play connects us. Seeing you with your first console and the excitement it brought you, I can't wait to see where your love of gaming takes you. As we've grown and our lives have gotten busier, I appreciate that we can still find time to play our favorite games together 20 years later. And now, it's your time to show us new ways to play.
January 3rd, 1777. During the Revolutionary War, General George Washington's army routs the British in the Battle of Princeton, New Jersey. That follows Washington and his troops crossing the Delaware River and beating the Hessians in nearby Trenton. 1990. Panama's ousted leader, General Manuel Noriega, surrenders to U.S. forces after taking refuge at the Vatican's diplomatic mission. He's later convicted and sentenced to prison in the U.S. for cocaine trafficking, racketeering, and money laundering. 1967, Jack Ruby, the nightclub owner who fatally shot Lee Harvey Oswald just days after President John F. Kennedy's assassination, dies in a Dallas hospital. And 1892, the precious will be ours. Take note, Lord of the Rings fans. Author J.R.R. Tolkien, creator of the trilogy that found its way to the big screen, is born in South Africa. Today in history, January 3rd. Camille Bohannon, The Associated Press.
for joining me today here at NASA at Home, where we bring NASA home to you. You can check out more of our online activities at NASA STEM at Home for students. My name's Lindsay Thornton, and I'm an education specialist at NASA Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia. And today is all about sound and aeronautics. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, but it's NASA, and everyone thinks of spacecraft and astronauts and going to the moon. And those are all great, but we are the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. And we are innovators in the world of new designs and experimental aircraft. Our newest, the X-59 Quest, is just inside. Let's take a look.
NASA's newest experimental airplane, the X-59 Quest, is designed with quiet supersonic technology and is intended to help open a new era in faster-than-sound air travel over land. Now under construction by Lockheed Martin Aeronautics Company, the X-59 is designed so that when flying supersonic or faster than the speed of sound, people on the ground will hear nothing more than a sonic thump, if anything at all.
The X-59 is about the length of a professional basketball court and just over half as wide. It's got a really long nose, an engine on top, highly swept wings, and a body or fuselage that's been carefully designed so that the shock waves sound like a gentle thump instead of something much louder.
Once fully tested and pronounced safe to fly, the X-59 will begin making supersonic flights over select communities to measure residents' reactions to any noise they might hear. The scientifically valid data gathered from these community overflights will be presented to regulators, who will use the information to come up with new regulations based on noise levels that will enable commercial supersonic flight over land. So, just how will the X-59 lower the sonic boom to a sonic thump? To understand this, you must first know what sound is and how it travels. Every sound we hear is produced by vibrations. These vibrations create sound waves, which can move in all directions through materials like solids, liquids, and gases. A sound wave is a compression or longitudinal wave, where the disturbance moves in the same direction as the wave. Check out this example using a stretched slinky. As the wave moves through the slinky from left to right, the disturbance will also move from left to right, parallel to the wave. The parts of the wave where it compresses are called compressions. A compression is a point where the waves are most compact. The parts of the wave where it stretches, or where it is least compact, are called rarefactions or expansions. Can you see the alternating pattern of compressions and rarefactions? Now let's look at some other characteristics of a sound wave. To determine the wavelength on a longitudinal wave, measure the distance between compression to compression or rarefaction to rarefaction. The frequency is the rate of vibration or the number of compressions or rarefactions that pass a point in a fixed amount of time. In a sound wave, increasing the rate of vibration increases the frequency, also increasing the pitch. The amplitude of the wave is the maximum height of the wave and directly determines the volume or loudness of sound. An increase in amplitude corresponds to an increase in volume. As sound waves travel through solids, liquids, and gases, they move the molecules, which transfers energy and causes the molecules to collide in the direction the sound is moving. As sound waves travel, they lose energy, which is why you can only hear sounds up to a given distance.
So knowing about how sound travels is very important to NASA scientists and engineers as we design supersonic aircraft. Perceived levels of noise of the sound waves reaching the ground can be 105 decibels or higher. In other words, a typical aircraft traveling at supersonic speeds is about as loud as a rock concert. The X-59, however, is designed to be much quieter. We expect the X-59 to reach perceived levels around 75 decibels in supersonic flight, which is a little bit quieter than closing a car door. Generally, commercial aircraft fly at altitudes of 36,000 to 41,000 feet. The X-59 will travel at approximately 55,000 feet above sea level. At this altitude, the X-59 will be flying at a height roughly 44 times higher than the Empire State Building and nearly twice the height of Mount Everest.
Now that you learned how sound travels, we've got an activity that you can do at home with materials that you can find around your house. So to start, you'll need 2 cups, whether they're plastic, paper, or styrofoam, it doesn't really matter. Anything will work. And you'll need an empty paper towel tube. You can also use a toilet roll tube as well if you don't have a paper towel tube. You're going to need some scissors, a pen or a marker, and if you'd like, you can also use some tape. Now you will need a phone or similar device that can play music or sounds of some kind. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to essentially build a little speaker system for your phone, but out of these simple homemade materials. So I'm going to trace my phone on my paper towel tube. I'm going to trace around the end of my phone so that I have a nice line to cut out, like so. So I'm going to cut this out, and then I'm going to make sure that my phone can easily fit in that slot and slide in and out, because we're going to be listening to how the noise or the sound varies as we slide our phone in and out. Okay? So we're going to want to cut that out. Then I'm going to want to take the end of my paper towel tube and I'm going to want to trace it onto my cups. So I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to trace around the edge of my paper towel tube so that I have 2 circles, and we want them in about the same place on our cups. We want to be able to keep everything very nice and even. So I'm going to want to cut those 2 holes out as well. Now once I've cut my holes out of my 2 cups and my slot out of my paper towel tube, I can put everything together. So I'm going to take those cups and I'm going to slide them on the ends of my paper towel tube so that they're facing the same direction. And then I'm going to cut that hole out, and like I said, we're going to make sure my phone can slide right in there just like that. And now I have a little speaker system. Now if you want to, if you're worried your cups are a little loose, you can always put a little tape on the bottom to hold them in place. Now you'll notice on the inside, my cup is only so far so that we allow room for the sound to come out of the paper towel tube. We don't want to push our cups all the way in, otherwise the sound won't be able to escape from the paper towel tube. All right, so once we have this, we can give it a try. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on something on my phone, maybe my favorite song or some noises, some sounds, and then I'm going to slide my phone, making sure I have the speaker end going into my slot. I'm going to slide it in and out, and I'm going to listen and hear the difference between when my phone is in the slot and all of my sound is being directed in the same direction. Those sound waves are being pushed together so that we amplify that sound. But when I pull my phone out, the sound waves can go in all directions, and so it's not as loud to our ears. It doesn't amplify the sound. So give that a try and see the difference for yourself. And so now you've got a very cool, very easy to make speaker system. So if you don't have one at home, you can use this, and you can take your phone outside while you're playing in your yard or up in your room, and it'll help you amplify the music you're listening to or the songs, whatever you happen to like. For my scientists out there, you can use a free sound meter app or decibel meter that you can get on your phone. You will need 2 devices in order for this to work, but it will allow you to take real-time data and see how well your amplifier is working. All right, great. So we've shown that we can amplify sound. What if we want to go in the other direction? Let's pretend that our 2 cups are 2 jet engines, and we want to quiet them so that we don't disturb the people and animals in our flight path. How would we do that? Well, a great example of quieting a very loud noise is our newest experimental aircraft, the X-59. Let's go check it out.
We are surrounded by sound every day. From household sounds like dogs barking and people talking, to noise pollution from highways, industry, and planes, our days have gotten very noisy. NASA is working to reduce some of these unwanted noises. As a leader in aeronautics research, NASA is working to reduce the sounds produced by aircraft. The Low Boom Flight Demonstration, a NASA aeronautics mission, includes the design, building, and testing of the X-59 Quiet Supersonic Technology Aircraft, or X-59 Quest for short. The X-59 will be able to fly at supersonic speeds, faster than the speed of sound, without producing a loud sonic boom. But what is a sonic boom? A sonic boom is the thunder-like noise a person on the ground hears when an aircraft or other type of aerospace vehicle flies overhead faster than the speed of sound or supersonic. Picture an aircraft flying through the air. As the aircraft moves, it pushes air out of its way, continuously creating sound waves. These sound waves, or air pressure waves, move away from the aircraft in all directions at the speed of sound, like ripples that form by dropping a pebble in a pond. By increasing the aircraft speed to supersonic, or faster than the speed of sound, the air pressure waves begin to pile up ahead of the airplane and compress, forming shock waves. These are similar to waves that pile up in front of a boat as it moves through water. In the air, the shock waves will move out and away from the aircraft. This creates a sudden change in pressure. The change happens so quickly that when the energy from the shock wave reaches our ears, it's heard as a loud crack of a sonic boom. So how is NASA trying to quiet the sonic boom with the X-59? Let's find out from an X-59 NASA engineer.
Well, the X-59 is designed to generate a quiet sonic boom when it flies supersonically. Traditional airplanes that fly supersonically, such as the Concorde or military jets, develop a very loud sonic boom as they fly over the ground. It's very disturbing to people on the ground, and that's a big impediment to being able to just fly commercially all the time supersonically. So this airplane is a demonstration of a capability that we think we developed to be able to shape the airplane such that it will not generate that loud sonic boom. And so if you look at a picture of the airplane design, you'll see that unlike a normal airplane, it's very long and slender. And the reason for that is to be able to shape the volume distribution and the lift distribution over the airplane in such a way that the shocks don't all coalesce into a very strong front and rear shocks that make that loud sonic boom. The airplane is designed to fly at a higher altitude for a number of reasons, one of which is the distance away from the ground reduces the noise from the sonic booms. So higher, farther away, it would be quieter. The other is, of course, that the airplane is designed such that the lift distribution over the airplane is what we need at a given angle of attack. And the angle of attack is the wind angle going into the airplane, how it touches the airplane. And so to get that angle correctly at the Mach number we want to fly at, puts you up at 55,000 feet, mid-50s. So the biggest challenge historically has been just in the capability of being able to analyze how the airplane is going to act. We've recently developed the tools to be able to predict how the sonic boom will be produced on the airplane and to be able to trace that to features on the airplane. And then that allows us to design the airplane like you see in the picture, the long, slender airplane that then develops the quiet sonic boom.
So the X-59 will quiet the sonic boom to a sonic thump. But what about the planes that you and I fly on every day? How do we quiet their noise? Have you ever heard of a chevron? Probably not, unless you're really into aircraft. But a chevron is a noise-reducing technology that NASA helped to develop and is now being used on commercial jet engines. The noise we hear from jet engines mainly comes from the turbulent air created by two streams of air, one hot and one cold, mixing at the back of the engine. The air coming out of the jet engine itself is extremely hot, while the air flowing around the outside of the engine case is much cooler. When the stream of hot air leaving the inside of the engine meets the stream of cooler air from the outside of the engine, the air becomes turbulent and noise happens. NASA discovered that the chevrons can smooth out the point where the two air streams meet, reducing turbulence and therefore noise. Alright, let's get back to our amplifier. Remember we said that we were going to pretend that our two cups were two jet engines. And how are we going to reduce the noise from those two jet engines? Well, that's up to you. I challenge you to build two devices to fit on the end of our two cups that will help reduce the noise. But you can't completely block the openings, otherwise our jet won't be able to fly. There won't be any thrust. You can use anything you can find around the house that Mom gives her okay to. Check your recycle bin, things that are being thrown out, and get creative.
Did you know that NASA engineers reuse and repurpose materials when designing new aircraft too? The X-59 Quest, while a brand new experimental aircraft, has components from other retired aircraft, some major and some minor, including the landing gear from an Air Force F-16 fighter, a cockpit canopy from a NASA T-38 trainer, a propulsion system part from a U-2 spy plane, and a control stick from an F-117 stealth fighter. Reusing parts is common to NASA when designing new aircraft and spacecraft, as it saves time and money.
Now once you've created your devices, give them a try. Did they quiet the noise coming from your amplifier? If so, it's a success. Just remember to try it a couple times to be sure of your success. Even better, use your sound meter app to measure the decibel level to see if you've really quieted the noise coming from your amplifier. Now remember, as a scientist, even if our device works well, we always want to improve. Is there some way you could improve your device? Aha! Once you have an idea, try it out. And then, once you're done, find a family member and tell them all about it. How you built your device, what you were thinking when you made your improvements, and remember that a real scientist has to be able to communicate their research. So make sure you explain clearly and thoroughly.
Now that you've learned a little about the X-59 and how sound travels, let's check out more of NASA's X-planes over the years.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
History is about to repeat itself. Over the past 7 decades, the nation's best minds in aviation have designed, built, and flown a series of experimental airplanes to test the latest imaginative and cutting-edge ideas related to flight. Short wings, long wings, delta-shaped wings, forward-swept wings, scissor wings, big tails, no tails, high speed, low speed. Individually, each of these pioneering aircraft has its own story of triumph and setback. Together, they are known as X-planes.
Each of those X-planes has an interesting story all of its own. They've all made an incredible contribution to our understanding of flight. And X-planes are really cool.
On October 14, 1947, Air Force Captain Chuck Yeager climbed into the bright orange, glamorous Glennis and flew the X-1 into its moment in history. The Bell X-1 was the first plane to fly faster than the speed of sound, thus breaking the sound barrier. Perhaps of all the X-planes NASA has been associated with, None was more cutting edge and became more famous than the X-15 rocket plane.
The X-1, it's the most famous because it was the first to go supersonic. But the X-15, it was the most productive of our X-plane programs.
Flown between 1959 and 1968, the winged X-15 reached beyond the edge of space at hypersonic speeds, trailblazing design concepts that contributed to the development of the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo piloted spaceflight programs.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
History is about to repeat itself again, and humans will take another giant leap. NASA is building a new generation of X-planes. The first all-electric aircraft, the X-57, will increase fuel efficiency, significantly reduce carbon emissions, and reduce unwanted noises. The newest X-plane, the X-59, will be an aircraft that flies at supersonic speed. But instead of creating the annoying sonic boom, creates a quiet sonic thump.
The X-59 aircraft is an exciting addition to a long history of X airplanes, including the X-1 and the X-15. NASA is working with Lockheed Martin to design, build, and flight test the X-59 aircraft. This can be about 97 feet long, fly at a Mach number of about 1.42, which is roughly around 900 miles an hour. It's got a long nose, engine on top, highly swept wings, and a very carefully shaped fuselage to enable that low boom flight that we require for this airplane. There's really three phases on the low boom flight demonstration mission. The first one is we need to make sure that the airplane is safe to fly and to fly in the United States airspace system at about 55,000 feet. Second of all, we need to do validation flights to show that the airplane can fly in a variety of flight conditions and atmospheric conditions. And then the third phase is really this community response data where we go out and get the data and provide this data to regulatory agencies such as the FAA so that they can lift the ban on commercial supersonic flight.
The success of the X-59 could be the next giant leap for mankind here on Earth. This means one day in the not too distant future, you may be flying on a supersonic commercial flight over land, getting where you need to go in half the time. How cool is that? Remember, NASA is with you when you fly.
Thanks for joining us, and don't forget to tune in next time when we bring NASA home to you. There's also more activities you can do online at NASA STEM at Home. See you next time.
Go, big boy. Wel, daar sê julle, ons gaan vandag, klink my na van Starens toe. Ons gaan saam met Divan van Breda uit en ons gaan kyk of ons 'n paar haie kan vang. Jonathan en Jessica en Michael het nog nooit 'n groot haai in die see gevang. Kom ons kyk of ons vir hulle iets kan kry. Kom saam. Staan nie saam met Divan van Breda. Divan, dis jou speelplek hier.
Ja.
Jy ken hierdie plek, jy vis hom baie. Wat gaan ons hier doen vandag?
Ons gaan vandag teiken wat meeste mense wat my mark is van oorsee af, almal van Frans af, Amerika, reg oor die land in Afrika, almal kom soek bronsies. Ja, daai ding trek lyn van jou katol as soos absoluut niks.
Wat maak 'n bronsie special?
Jy's dit. So hy trek daai lyn af, hy hou jy gaan huil. Jou rug gaan pyn en die bronsies is baie sterk. Ons het 'n groot drop-off so 'n kilometer in hierso so die water. Die massa water wat oorkom is baie. So die strome hierso is baie sterk.
So hy gaan lê die stroom.
Hulle moet dan groot pectoral fins en as hy net so lê, nee wat dan.
Wat is die kans dat ons iets anders erop tel as terwyl jy vir die bronsies gaan?
Dit hang af van die watertemperatuur. As die water effens warm is, dan gaan ons net klein haaietjies, dalk 'n diamantrog, stingrays, daai tipe goeders vang. As dit effens koeler is, kan ons kyk na die twee banke, een aan die regterkant, een aan die linkerkant, vir 'n live bait drop, dalk vir 'n cobby of so ietsie of 'n krappie gooi vir 'n steen. Maar all in all, nie regtig veel anders.
Groot pylsterte of iets in daai lyn hier?
Minder as in Jeffries. In Jeffries gewoonlik teiken ons die pylsterte, maar hy is.
Okay. Kom ons vang 'n bronsie saam met Divan.
Ek vis altyd babelus hoeke. Eagle claw, verkieslik BKK's en ek maak altyd babelus. Kan nie drougvis vang of enige haaivis vang eintlik doen met 'n hoek wat nog 'n baba aan het. So nou as ek die drone gebruik, ek ken nou die plek want ek hengel die laaste paar dae hier, maar ek kyk gewoonlik vir 'n rippie. 'n Rip is waar soos daar is amper soos 'n sterk stroom vir daai wat nie weet nie. Nou kyk ek vir 'n rippie, maar nou weet ek as ek my aas sit in daai rip, dan gaan al daai reuk van die aas saam met daai rip uitgaan. En dan gaan die reuk van die aas heel moontlik ver travel. En dan gaan die haai gaan dan teen daai rip opswem en die aas kom soet. So dis ook wat lekker is van my swaalpro met die kamera. Kan ek mooi sien. Ek gaan nou glare omdat daar 'n foon naby is. Maar kan ek mooi sien waar die rips is. Hy is nou 'n bietjie uitgeëet, maar dit is 'n solid vis. Dit was nie 'n klein greitjie nie, 'n klein greitjie byt gewoonlik in die helfte. Hierdie was definitief 'n bronsie trek. So hulle is hierso. Ons moet net nog geen convince om weer te eet. So ons gaan nou 'n live bait try. Hier is ons live mullet. My go-to aas, een van my favorite aase. Enigiets in die see eet hom. So as jy hom drop aan enigiets kan jy hak so. Altyd 'n lekker ding. Nooit te weet wat jy gaan hak nie.
So, dink 'n laaste koffietjie voor die aksie gaan begin. Wat Divan sê, hy sit die aase uit, vat dit redelik ver uit. Daar's 'n rip current wat loop. So as die sandhaai en die ander aas nou daar binne lê, dan trek die geur nou so af met die stroom. En die bronsies kom op met die stroom. So dit vat so 'n tydjie vir die aas om te settle, bietjie die geur in te sit in die water. En dan begin hulle opkom. Nou die eerste een was nou hier gewees. En ons het 'n tyd gehad, maar hy het hom nou nie heeltemal geëet nie. So hulle proe nog. So ek dink die tyd begin nou reg raak, is op die oomblik hoogwater. en ons is op die regte tyd hier. Dis nou so 8 uur. En ons die ase is uit. Dis reg, ons is opgewonde.
Ek het nou die mallet geriek in 'n manier wat hy lekker lank lewendig bly. So hy's nêrens gepenetreer nie. Hy's net bo die oogies met 'n cable tie. En 'n stukkie spons vooraan om 'n bietjie die staal ligter te maak. En dis 'n vinnige groeiende vis. Jy mag 50 hou van hulle 'n dag. So al is hy dalk lewendig en dit lyk bietjie inhumane. Hulle is maar so sardiens, jy weet, daar's baie van hulle en hulle sexually mature baie vroeg. So hulle lewens, their lifespan is very short.
Eerste ordentlike bronsie pick-up. Op 'n Sontai gearbox. Mooi opgetel. Nie massive nie. Maar 'n mooi vis. Had er agter gekom, hy's gehak. Gang.
By die water, dan kom jy altyd nou en dan kom maar 'n watertjie of 'n golf oor hom. Sodra daar nie water is nie, spring uit op die pectoral fins en ons gaan daai hoek uitkry. Jy kan sien hy bronties swemwerk baie mooi gesond. Weer is die sirkelhoek, die groot tackles, die fightie lankie. Ons hou hom heeltyd by die water en dit is 'n quick release. Well done.
Well done. Minder as 'n uur, so 50 minute gespeel. Lekker sterk, want dit is 'n mannetjie. Mannetjies kook harde. Dit is lekker. Ek het deurgegaan. Nou die een wat agter die kamera staan is Jessica. So die volgende een wat gaan is hare. Kry vir jou.
Die sirkelhoek het hom in die kant van die weg, so ons kan maklik die hoek uithaal en die vis kan terugsit. Dit gaan perfek in die kant. Wie kyk, beste hoeke nie, maar kyk hoe maklik is daai hoek uit. Sy pragtige mooi visie. Hoi, kyk hoe squeaky. Verskil is hierdie. Vir bronde het hy nie dit nie. Bietjie vader in kleur ook die grey. Brons is obviously bietjie meer brons, maar die maklikste way om te tel is hierdie riffeltjie, brons het niks te riffel. Alright, so daar's twee dinge wat vandag baie moeilik gemaak het. Een is die water is baie warm met Jeffrey's PE area nou vir maande lank. Van die warmste waterrekord het in meer as 10 jaar die jaar. So dit het baie van die spesies wat ons gewoonweg vang in 'n ideaal of typical day, het dit uit die equation uitgehaal. Sorry, ek neem 'n bietjie my taal hier. Dis een ding. Die tweede ding wat dit moeilik gemaak het, die tweede ding wat vandag moeilik gemaak het, was 'n moeëse klomp sardine activity die laaste 2 dae. En gister was daar rugby velde vol. Daar spring, what jumped there? There's something jumped. What someone's right there. There's something massive jump. Sorry. Wat ek sê. Well, was rugby velde vol sardine activity. En nou wat gebeur het is daar so baie sardine activity naby die kant kom. Trek dit al die vis wat die banke patrol vir sandtaaie en vir lewendige hardes, trek dit sardiens toe, want sardiens is baie nutritious. So dit is regtig ietsie wat vir hulle baie maklik is om te eet en dit gee vir hulle baie energie. So dit trek letterlik al die vis weg van die kant af. En vandag is daar niks 'n sardine activity nie. So daai vis is almal saam met daai sardiens diepsee toe en dit het nou regtig vandag moeilik gemaak, maar ons het aangehou, ons het die regte haas, weet ons het die regte haas, gewees op die regte plek. Ons het letterlik net gewag vir die windows en ons het 2 visse aangekry, 1 geland sover en ek is redelik seker ons gaan hier ook kry.
Ja, gaan die kar. Oh, hy's 'n wat sê man 'n marble kaart.
Okay, Johnny, hy's amper op die kant. Well done.
Dankie tog.
Ja. Ons is vandag by Kabeljous. Kondisies is weer ongelukkig nie te great nie, maar ons gaan 'n plan maak. Dis 'n suidwind wat nou waai en enige mense wat weet van visvang en met af hierdie kus is 'n giftige wind. Maar hy gaan bedaar later vanmiddag en die water is op pad om in te kom. So daar is ook 'n paar positiewe. Ons gaan vis vir 'n groot reentjie. Ek verwag dalk 'n diamantrol of 2. En as ons lucky is, met dalk Werner sy swart baby van. Kom ons check. Okay, so ek hardloop net gou deur 'n strop wat ek hier so baie gebruik. Ek gebruik so 2.5 meter staal. Dit is die sweet spot. Ek gebruik gewoonlik 'n 12-0 BKK monster circle. En obviously maak ek die hoeke heeltemal babeless. Vir daai mense wat nie weet nie, hoe om die hoek te connect met die staal, gebruik ek 'n snel knoop. Druk hom van die voorkant van die hoek af na die agterkant toe. Af met die shank. En dan wrap ek net die lang stukkie om 5 keer. En dan die belangrike deel is om hierdie van agteraf deur te druk. Baie belangrik. Here we go. Met die swivel doen ek 'n gewone figure 8. So ek het 'n redelike lang tag end en ek wrap hom oor die staal en my vingers. So die lekker ding is jy wil hê jou vinger moet so half die staal in plek hou. Die tweede end moet half parallel loop met die ander staal. En dan wrap jy net die tag end om die vinger en die staal 3 keer. 2, 3, nou haal jy hom van jou vinger af, weer eens van agteraf. Nou belangrik met hierdie knoop is, moet jy nou net styf trek nie. Vou hom uit. En as jy hom uitvou, dan moet jy ietsie soos dit kry. En dan, die ander belangrike ding is, trek hom eers styf. Moet hom nie aftrek nou nie, want dan gaan hy jou stal krinkel. So jy wil eers hierdie knoop styf trek. So, en nou half is wat ek wil hê moet wees. En dan gebruik ek my duim en my vinger net om af te gly. Dan gaan hy stal perfect bly. Niks se krinkel nie. Voilà. There's your finished knot. Dan gooi jy net hierdie stuk weg. And there we go.
Kom, lekker. Mike, cowboys don't cry.
Kees?
Cowboys don't cry.
Nie cowboy. Dis in Kempton groot geword.
Presies, jy kan die cowboys lesse gee. Wel, daar sê, die son is besig om te sak. Dit was 'n baie lekker, kan ek maar sê, interessante 2 dae saam met Divan. As daar nou iets is wat ek geleer het in hierdie 2 dae, is as jy nie die area ken nie en is moeilike omstandighede. Wel, as jy nie die area ken nie, dan is dit moeilik om by 'n plek te kom hengel. As jy 'n ervare gids het soos Divan, is dit makliker. Maar nog steeds, ons is in uiterste moeilike kondisies gewees hierdie afgelope 2 dae. En tog het Divan dit mag werk, want hy het goeie kennis. Net. Maar ons staan nou hier so, daar's nog 3 stokke in, en enigiets kan nog gebeur, maar vir alle praktiese doeleindes, ek dink is op die einde van die 2 dae. So Divan, baie dankie vir jou, en dankie dat jy lekker saam met Stuyvelyne gekuier het.
Ja, was vir my lekker om julle te hê. Die kondisies is regtig taaf, maar
Nou sê my Divan, as die kondisies soos nou vandag, nou môre begin die nationals hierso, dan gaan die ouens fish. Jy kan nie die weer kies nie, jy kan nie die kondisie kies nie, jy kan nie die watertemperatuur kies nie. Nou, wat doen jy anders in sulke kondisies waar dit moeilik gaan? Watter uiterste toe gaan jy?
praat jy nou van 'n gidse perspektief of 'n kompeterende perspektief? Want ek kan jou 2 antwoorde gee.
Ja, maar uit 'n gidse perspektief is dit ook kompeterend, want onthou, ja, jou kliënt kom boek weke of maande voor die tyd. Hy het nie die luxury om te sê, wow, die weer lyk mooi, kom ons gaan fish nie. So vir jou, uit beide 'n kompeterende en 'n gids perspektief, is dit moeilik as die omgewing, as die kondisies change. So wat doen jy dan?
Die belangrikste ding is om, as jy nou kompeterend is ook, is om jouself selfvertroue. So jy moet weet, okay, ek ken die plek, ek was al hier, ek verwag hierdie 4 spesies om te byt. Ons water is nou baie warm, ons gesit met 'n suidewind en 'n laag lugdruk. So ek weet die 3 visse wat dalk sop eet in hierdie situasie is 'n diamantrog, dalk 'n reggie, jy weet daai tipe visse. So ek probeer juist daai visse vang. Ten minste vang met byt. Dis dieselfde as enige kompetisie.
So jy default, as ek so kan sê, amper terug na jou mees gemaklikste kondisies toe. Dit wat jy verseker weet werk. Yes. Want as min dinge werk, of as dit moeilik is, dan is dit wat jy weet die beste werk altyd jou go-to.
Ja.
Back to basics.
Maar soos ek jou gesê het met hierdie stok, ek sit altyd soos 'n bargain stok uit. Ja. Hou hom weg van die ander stokke. Fokus met twee rotate hier die hele tyd en jy probeer maar teiken wat jy dink gaan byt en dan sit jy altyd 'n stok aan die een kant wat ek like doen. Wat ek weet, okay, jy weet, as daar dalk is 'n prize visie verbykom, dan is ek gekeer en ek's reg vir hom ook.
Dis soos 'n lotto stok.
Ja, dis 'n lotto stok, ja.
So as hy gaan, dan weet ons dis 'n groot vis, want dis 'n groot stuk asem.
Ja.
Jy weet, dis soos 'n solid stuk vleis en dis wat nou uit is hier. So Divan, as die ouens, as jy kan raad gee met betrekking tot mense wat graag saam met jou wil kom hengel, wat is die beste tyd? Wanneer gebeur wat in Jeffreys?
Om vir die waarheid sê, laaste 2 dae seker top 10 van my toughste dae ooit. Dood ernstig. Suid, warm water, dit was taaf. Maar oor die algemeen kan jy maar amper jaarliks vis in Jeffreys. Ek sal sê die slegste maand, die moeilikste maand is seker September. Jy weet, June, July, August, September is taaf. Although jy kry meer eetvis dan, so as okay, kom ek sê maar net, as jy nou wil eetvis vang, dan kom ons kyk, dan kyk jy na June, July, August, Oktober. As jy nou wil haie vang, enigiets van einde Oktober tot einde April, Mei.
Okay, so ons was nou reg op die haai tyd, maar met die warm water wat nou in is dit nou 'n bietjie moeilik. Maar nog steeds, ons het nou vandag het ons 'n mooi diamantrog gevang. Nie massive nie, maar redelik groot.
Die halfdag vis hoor.
Ja, dis waar ons het eers 1 uur begin. En ons het 'n mooi smoothhound gevang. Wat ook 'n mooi vis.
Ons gaan nou 'n reggie vang.
En ons gaan nou 'n reggie vang. As ons nou 'n pylie vang, dan staan ons hier so tot vanaand 10 uur. Ja. Maar Diwan, baie dankie. Dit was lekker om saam met jou te kuier.
Ja. Nee, ek het dit waardeer baie. Ek moet net sê ook, dit is altyd belangrik om as jy kom is ook om jou tyd te geniet en jy gaan jou tyd meer geniet as jy kalm is en rustig is en jy is hier vir 2, 3, 4 dae en jy sien ook ander goedes in Jeffrey. So ons spandeer tyd in die dorp ook. Dis lekker hierso.
Ja, ek moet sê dit was nou baie lekker geweest saam met Diwan. Gister het ons lekker worsies gebraai op die strand. Vandag hy sit so mooi skerm op. Ons het lekker gesit en koffie gedrink en so dis eintlik lekker ontspanne. En jy kuier en jy leer en die mense kom by jou hier verby en almal ken vir Diwan. So jy leer baie mense ken hier. So dis nie net 'n sterk hengel ekspedisie nie, dis 'n lekker kuierdag. Dankie. Nou ja, as ons nie iets groots vang binne die volgende uur tot die son weg is nie, dan is dit die einde. En dankie dat julle dan saam met ons gekuier het. Ons sien vir julle weer. Cheers.
The number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
The number you have dialed has been changed.
Back in our studio, and in today's news,